So let us know what are the words are there in the modal verbs or secondary auxiliaries. Modal verb or secondary auxiliary both are same. It's just a word that we say. So in this modal auxiliary verb, the main modal auxiliaries are will, would, shall, should, can, could, may, might, must and ought to. This few words are there which is main modal auxiliary. And semi-modal auxiliaries are also there, which are three words only: dare, need and used to. I'll come to that part later. First I'll start with main modal auxiliary. So let's start with the first one only, will. So will is used actually in the future, simple future tense. Will is used actually in the simple future tense with the second and third person. What does it mean? It's written out here. Will is used for simple future tense and is used with the second and third person in the simple future tense. Means he will go to the market. This is simple future tense. Though I'll teach you this tense in the tense class, in the class of tense, but still you should know what is simple future tense. Simple future tense is simple tense which I make about future sentences, like he will go to class tomorrow. So here he is a third person, and obviously with third person as per the rule it is used in the simple future tense. Then with you also, you will move to his home, or you will move the book from that place to that place. So this you will, he will, this second person and third person, with second person and third person, these are rules you need to remember, guys, this thing, because there's nothing logic is out here in that way. Yes, obviously few logics are there, but exactly these are rules, and these rules you need to remember it so that you can, I'll say you need to practice it. The more you'll practice, it will automatically come inside you. You don't want to remember in that way, because if you try to remember, you will forget very soon. So try to memorize it by framing sentences, more and more sentences. Then only you remember. So the first rule of using will is you have to remember this, that with second person, third person, it is used as a simple future tense. Like he will go tomorrow, he will come tomorrow, or you will go tomorrow, or they will bring the notebook. So this is how you need to make simple future tense. This is the first rule of using will. So what is the next thing is there? Will is used in the first person to show determination. Now this is important. Generally we use will with first person, second person, third person without knowing that what should be the idea of using it. So the idea is, when you are using with first person, that means I and we, with I and we, will always shows determination. That means a kind of a promise, that means a kind of a willingness. When you say I will come tomorrow to your home, when you say we will all come together for your birthday party. So when you say these sentences with we and I, when you use will with we and I, means the first person, then it shows determination, willingness, or a kind of a promise. Please remember this. This is very important. And with second person, third person, it is used just as a simple future tense. No determination, no promises or something like that. Just a determination. He will come tomorrow. He will go tomorrow. He will go and go to his office. Just something like that. Hope it is very easy to understand. It is actually more than understanding. You have to remember the points, guys. These are few points you need to remember. There are not much. Actually, there are many, but I have brought it over here. Few points which are very, very mandatory, and you require to use it when you want to speak English. If you remember this, your spoken English is going to be very, very easy. Okay. Where else it is used? Will is never used with first person in interrogative sentences. Now guys, this is again a very important point to remember. Never use or never frame a sentence with will using first person. What is first person? I and we. Like never say, oh, will I come to your house? Never say that. Will I come to your house? Never say that. Because it is just as per the rules, it should not be used. With will, I and with will, I and we should not be used in interrogative sentence. Means when you are making question. When you are making question, do not use will I come to your house, will I go to your house, will I get a glass of water. Never use that. Or will we come to your house. So with we and I, never use will in the interrogative sentences. So what we can use, I'll tell you. We can use shall. I'll tell you that later on. I'll come. So once will is over, so this is all about will. Okay, this is all about will. So I hope if you remember these 3 points about will, you are going to use it in a perfect way. The word will. Next we'll come to would. So what is would? Would is mainly used as a past tense of will. Like he would come if you invite him. If I say he would come if you invite him, that means I'm talking something about past. Obviously would is a future tense word, will is a future tense word. So from will, would has come. So it is a future tense word. So obviously I'll talk about past but related to future. Means I mean to say he would come if you invite him. That means he will definitely come, or he will come if you will invite him. So if you invite him, he will come. So I'm talking about past only, but I'm talking about future past. That if you'll invite, then definitely he will come. So it's something like that. So he would come if you invite him. So this is the use of past tense. This is the use of would in the past tense. This is the use of would in the past tense. Because would is the past tense, would is used as the past tense of will. So this is one point you have to remember about would. The second point which you need to remember about would is that it is used for offering or asking or ordering people very politely, guys. Would, let me tell you, there are many words are there, modal auxiliaries, modal verbs, which are as same as like would in this particular point, like offering something or politely asking something. But would is the most polite word. Would is the most polite word. Could is also used for asking, polite asking. Could is also used for polite permission, asking for polite permission. But would is the most polite word. Like, would you like to dance with me? It is the most polite way of taking permission from somebody. Most polite way. I would like to offer you 50k or 50,000 rupees for this product. I would like to offer you 50,000 rupees for this product. So I'm offering somebody something in a very polite way. So this is considered as the most polite one. So when you're talking to your senior or your boss or your parents or some seniors, always try to remember, guys, would is the appropriate word for polite permission, offering something, requesting. Like, would you please allow me to go out to play? Suppose you're asking your mother or your father that it is raining, kind of drizzling outside. Drizzling means slight form of rain. So if it is drizzling outside but still you want to go to play, so you are asking your mother or your father, would you please allow me to go to play with my friends? So this is the most polite way. Might be they will allow you. It might happen that they will allow you because it's the most polite way. So when you ask somebody with a very polite way, definitely they consider that. Chances are there they'll consider that. So with your boss, especially with your seniors, colleagues, or with somebody whom you don't know, strangers, or with parents, elder relatives. So you can always use would if you are speaking in English for polite request, for polite offer, or for polite permission. Would is another way of using it. So this is the second point, how you should use would. The third point is would is also used as a past tense in the indirect speech. Now what is indirect speech? This is something very advanced study, guys, again kind of advanced in advanced class of grammar, but still I'll give you an idea. What is direct and indirect speech? direct speech is something where what the person has said, I am just putting it in the same way while writing it or while speaking it. Suppose I'm saying, let us take an example over here only. He said to me, listen very carefully, this is a direct speech. He said to me, I will look into the matter. He said to me, suppose I'm telling it to you. You are my second person, I'm the first person, and I'm talking about third person. So obviously that's why he said to me, I will look into the matter. Means his words were, I will look into the matter. That's why I haven't changed it. I have put it inside open inverted comma and close inverted comma. I have put it in that way. That is how you write direct speech. He said to me, I will look into the matter. Now suppose I have two ways of telling it to you what he said. One, direct speech, which he said exactly in the same way. I will come and I'll tell you. He said to me, I will look into the matter. So you have understood what he said. And I have another way of saying it to you, that is indirect speech, where I will not put an inverted comma, nothing. I'll just put it in a different way. Like, he told me that, inverted commas will be removed. He told me that he will look into the matter. So he would look into the matter. So from I will look into the matter. He said I because he was I on that time. So I too, it become he, because for me it is he. For himself is I, but for me he is he, you can say. So I will say he told me that he would look into the matter. Why would instead of will? Because I'm saying he said that he would look into the matter. It is a past one right now, past future, because he has already said I will look into the matter. So he already said it. So that's why when I want to say it now to a second person, being a first person, I have to always put the past tense of that particular word. Like will was used over there, so obviously would will be used. He used will, like I will look into the matter. So obviously when I'm putting it in an indirect speech, I will put would instead of will. So guys, this is the best way I can make you understand right now direct and indirect speech. It's a big chapter. Again, it's a very advanced chapter. Hopefully if I'll cover it, I'm not sure about it, because this is generally that much not required for spoken English. As I told you, parts of speech, article, tense and sentence. This is more than enough to like at least start framing sentences, and you can start speaking English. But again, parts of speech, this direct and indirect speech, if you learn it properly, again obviously it will give you an advantage. So these are the uses of would. These are the only again uses of would. So there are no big points, guys. 2-3 points are there of each words that I'm going to tell you. You can write it down. If you want, you can save my video in your playlist, YouTube playlist, and you can watch it again and again. That's it. Okay, so now will and would is over. Let us come to the shall and should. Shall and should. So shall is again, as I told you, that in will it is used in the simple future tense with second and third person. So over here, shall is used with first person as a simple future tense. Means if you want to speak about simple future tense, you can only use shall, because over there you don't have the facility, or you can say the permission, you can say, or you can say you don't have the facility to use I and we, means the first person, with will as a simple future tense. That thing you have it over here. That's why we say I shall go tomorrow, I shall do my work, we shall do my work. You've heard many words like that, many sentences like this, like we shall come tomorrow, we shall surely do this work. So these are all simple future tense, and you can only make simple future tense with I and we, that means first person. If you want to make simple future tense, you have to use shall, not will. And you have to make simple future tense with will, then you have to use second person, third person. So this is again a point. This is how you can again relate, and you can study and you can remember the things, points. Okay. With shall, shall is also used with second person and third person as a threat, compulsion or legal obligation. Shall is also used as a threat, compulsion, legal obligation with second and third person. Remember this. Like if it is a threat, like he shall beat you up if you bully him. He shall beat you up if you bully him. So, or like again you can make it, yes, this is a kind of the threat. That person is giving a threat. It's like that. Then compulsion. Compulsion also you can use it like that. Suppose like she shall pass if she work hard. So there's a compulsion. If she work hard, she will pass. So this is compulsion. Legal obligation. Like if I have to say, then I can say like that. Suppose she shall file a case. She shall file a case against the company if the company does not refund the money to her. So this is how you make it. There are other different ways also. I'll tell you one thing, it might not sound very well because generally we use should, would with these things because these are more powerful words than this. So I'll tell you one more thing. In verb, you have the freedom to use many different verbs, modal auxiliary verbs, for the same thing. For the same thing. Like you can use could also for a polite request. You can use would also for a polite request. You can use should also for a polite request. So there are many options. Like could you give me a glass of water? Would you give me a glass of water? So both are polite requests, but would is more polite. So you have to understand the strong point, or you have to understand the strong point of each modal auxiliaries, where to use it. Like as I told you, if you're taking permission from your parents, from your seniors, boss, definitely you should use would when you want to take permission. That's more polite. But if you're talking to your friend, then you don't have to use would. Or if you're talking to your younger ones, brother, sister, younger one, you don't have to use would. You can use could. Could you give me a glass of water? Could you please pass me that book? So this I can say to my friend, to my dear ones, or to my, you can say, young ones. So you have to understand, guys, which word of modal auxiliaries to use where, because right now whatever I'm going to teach you, it might sound you similar, that oh my god, it is used same thing again here also. Then how will I understand? But you don't have to understand. It is as simple as, like suppose may and can. I can also say can I come in, I can also say may I come in. Both are right, guys. But why do we mostly say may I come in? Because, and where do we say? We say mainly may I come in where we go for an interview. So before entering into interviewer's room or boss room, we say may I come in, sir? May I come in, ma'am? Or if you're talking to a teacher, you're entering into a class, before that you ask your madam or sir, may I come in, sir? May I come in, ma'am? Why? Because it is more polite. It is considered as per English more polite. May is more polite than can. But you can use can also. With whom? With your friends, with your young ones. Can I come in? Can I do that? Can I do this? So guys, so now if you'll tell me can and may, okay, both are used for taking permission. Yes, both are used for taking permission. So you don't have to be confused about it. There's nothing to be confused that how to judge which when to say what. It is your common sense. You have to use your common sense. If I'm talking to a special person, senior person, a respectable person, I should definitely use the word which is more polite. That's it. So let me continue that. So this is my advice. Just keep it in mind. This is most important, because you might get puzzled into all these modal auxiliaries, because it is something like that. You will feel, okay, my god, this rules is applicable there, here, everywhere. So how to judge it? It is, you need to judge it according to situations. You have to frame the sentences, and according to people with whom you're talking, with whom you're telling, to whom you're telling, it will go accordingly. Okay. So hopefully you have understood this. that used with first person or as simple future, like I shall come tomorrow. Then shall is also used with second person, third person as a threat, compulsion and legal obligation, which I just told you right now. Okay guys, so apart from this, there is nothing in shall, only these 2-3 points are there again. So I hope you can easily understand and use it in a proper way. Yes, there's not much more. But now I'll come to should, because shall has been done, so should. So because should has come, should is the past tense of shall. Again the same point like would. Would was used as a past tense of will. Same here. Should is used as a past tense of shall. Like he should have completed the work by now. So I'm talking about future only kind of, or I'm talking about the past tense of shall, because shall is a future tense word, right? So obviously should is also considered as the future tense word, but the past tense of future. So I'm saying, like, suppose I gave a work to my staff and I told him to complete this work by today at this time. So now I'm talking to you. So I'm saying that I have informed, I have told my staff to complete a work. I think he should have completed it by now. So he should have completed it by now. That means I'm talking about the past tense of shall, right? So should is used as the past tense of shall. This is point number 1. Point number 2, same point again. You don't have to remember like in a very difficult way. Same like would, as would was used as a past tense in the indirect speech, should is again going to be used as a past tense in indirect speech. I'll give you an example also. Like he said to me, you shall report for duty tomorrow. He said to me, you shall report for duty tomorrow. You shall means he said to me, that means I was that you for him. So you shall report for duty tomorrow. So how will I now, when I came to you and I'm telling it to you that what he said to me, I can say in 2 ways. Either in direct speech, the same thing what he said to me, I'll tell you, putting it in inverted commas, or I'll tell you in an indirect speech, which is generally used while speaking this language. Like he told me, or he asked me, or he told me that I should report for duty next day. So there are changes, right? Now you might be thinking that, or you might have not understood also, because obviously direct and indirect part of speech, it's an advanced study and many of you doesn't know. And again, I'm sure that many of you knows also about it. So the people who know about it, I don't think I have to explain much about this direct and indirect speech. So there are a lot of things which gets changed once you change from direct speech to indirect speech, right? So over there he said to me, you shall report for duty tomorrow. So he was saying to me. Now when I'm coming and saying it to you, so definitely I'll say he said to me that I shall, because that you will be changed at I, because he told me only. I should, now shall to should report for duty the next day. So these how we use should as the past tense in indirect speech. This is another point. Okay, it is again used as an advice, duty, guess or assumption. It is also used for polite request. Just now I said, should I come to your home? This is polite request, polite permission that I'm taking to you. But it's not more polite than would. Would is more polite. Okay, then if I'm saying so this is how you can say, okay, should is also used as an advice, duty, guess or assumption. Remember, the most important use of should is advice. We generally use should for advice only. Like, I think you should not leave your job right now. I think you should not come out from your home right now. Or you should work hard in order to pass. So these are all advices that you're giving to somebody. So advice, should is mainly used for advice. It is the best word if you want to advise somebody. Remember this is a vital point. Should is mainly used for advice. Should is also used for duty also sometimes. Like you should go to your work tomorrow on time. So it is, I'm talking about duty also here. You can again talk about duty with should. Guess or assumption. Guess like or assumption. What is that guess and assumption? Like suppose you are asking me what is the time right now. Now suppose I don't have a watch, or might be my watch is not functioning. So I don't have any watch nearby right now. So what can I do? I can watch the weather outside if there are windows are there. Obviously if I watch the weather outside, might be I can guess. Or I knew just an hour or 2 hours back it was 6 o'clock. Right now it should be around 7 or 7:30. So see, it should be around 7 or 7:30. I already made a sentence right now. So should is also used for guess or assumption. So you can use as a guess or assumption, both. Should. Like I think it should be 7:30 right now. So if somebody is asking what is the time right now, you don't have the watch, you are guessing it. So how will you guess? I think it should be around 7 o'clock or 7:30. So see, this is also, you can use should in this way. So I hope you have understood will, would, shall, should. Let us come to can and could. Can is used actually for possibility or ability. What is possibility and ability? Like suppose I can speak English. This is my ability. What is capacity or capability? I can drive a car. That is capability. That is capacity. So ability, capacity, capability, when you're talking about, you can use can. Possibility also you can use can. Like I can do this work. I haven't done the work, but I'm telling it to you, I can do this work. That means you have understood, what you have understood is that I possibly will do the work. Understood? So can is mainly used for possibility. Can and may both is used for possibility. Same, if can is used for possibility and ability, may is also used for possibility and ability. So in this way, if you study, you will remember everything. You don't have to study separately. This same point is used for can and for me also. Like can is used for possibility and ability. Same, may is used for possibility, ability. Same, may is used for, can is used for asking permission, for taking permission. May is also used for taking permission. Just now I said, may I come in? Can I come in? Can I borrow your book? May I borrow your book? So these are very easy. Same thing, possibility and ability, same thing. I may drive a car. I may work hard. Same thing. I can work hard. I may work hard. Same thing. But may is more polite, guys. Again, this is what you have to remember. That more than can, may is more polite. So if you're talking with your senior, boss, I told you just now, elders, seniors, parents, use strangers, use may. More respectable. The word is more respectable, more polite. Can is you can say a very casual word. You can use with your friends, colleagues with whom you are very, very close or something like that. Young ones with whom you are very, very close again. You can use this can. So same thing like that. You can use that. Okay. So you have understood may and can. Let us come to could. If you'll understand could, same again like might. Same thing. Might is also the past tense of may. Could is also the past tense of can. Same, could is also used as the past tense of can, and could is also used as the past tense of can in indirect speech. Same formulas like could, should, could, might. Same formulas. It will all be used as a past tense in the indirect speech. This is one important point. Remember like this. Then you don't have to remember so much, or you will not find it difficult. One more point. What it was, that is I said just right now, as a past tense of can, may, or as a past tense of shall, shall, will, like this. So could is the past tense of, used as a past tense of can. How? I can speak English. This is possibility. This is ability, and this is can is again future tense word, right? Modal auxiliary. Or present tense word, or again future tense word. In that way only, present tense also you can use it. Today at present I can use it, I can talk. So this is also used in that way. So could, how could is used as the past tense of can? I could speak Bengali before I came in London. That means before I came in London means when I was in, suppose in India, I could speak Bengali very well or Hindi very well. I used to speak Hindi, Bengali very well, but after going to London, maybe after 4 or 5 years down the lane, I'm saying that I could speak Bengali very well before I came down to London. So here you are using it as a past tense of can. Are you getting my point? It's so easy, damn easy. You just need to focus on the examples, what I'm telling it to you, and watch my video again and again to get the idea about it. Once if you'll watch, it might happen you will not get all the things which I have told you, but if you'll watch 4 or 5 times, I'm sure you will get each and everything what I'm telling it to you, and you will apply it and you will get the benefit of it also. Okay, so this is how you use could in that way. So this is again could, all about could. Okay, with could again you can take permission, like could I use your telephone please? Polite request or permission, same thing like that, would also only. But again I told you could is polite but not more polite than would. So with seniors, would I use your telephone? And if it is your colleagues, normal colleagues and all, if you're talking to, you can use could I use your telephone, could I borrow your pen, you can use it. So this is one again a way of asking permission, request, polite request, all these things you can do again with could. So this is will, would, shall, should, could, can, could, may, and might. Might is also the same thing, guys. Just the same thing. I don't think I should repeat that. The same thing of may, like the way can to could, may to might. Might is also used as a past tense in indirect speech, and might is also used as the past tense of may. Like I may come, I might come to your house. I might do this work. That means I'm talking about future but past future. I might do this work means there's a possibility that I'll do this work. So it is used as a past tense of may. In the same way, the indirect speech, it is going to be used like that. Again, might is also used for polite request. You can say like might I come in, but nobody says this, guys. The most used word was may I come in. Might I do this work for you? Generally people don't say. Generally people say what like can I do this work for you, if it is a friend or something like that. If it is senior or something like that, then shall I do this work for you? Should I do this work for you? Would you like me to do this work for you? See, so many sentences I'm creating it because I have been practicing this language for a long time, guys. I've been speaking this language for a long time. Still I don't consider myself an expert. Still I do make mistake, but there is a but. What but is there? What is the thing that I have right now in me? If I make mistake while speaking English or while writing English, I do correct it then and there because I know the use of those parts of speech. So I know even if I'm making mistake by slip of tongue, I'm correcting it. I hope you have observed in many of my videos, whenever I'm making a mistake in my framing sentences, obviously I'm trying to correct it so that at least I should get it to you. My focus should be when I'm talking to somebody, my focus should be that my communication should not be miscommunicated. It should be communicated exactly the way I am conveying to you. And for that you have to learn grammar really well so that you can communicate exactly correct. I'm not saying you can be perfect. You may be perfect, which I'm not, but still I'm saying that you can be better and miscommunication will be less. So this is how it had been done. Now I'll come to must. What is must? Must is actually used for very easy. It's nothing hard and rocket science is there. Must is used for fixed determination. Just remember that. Fixed determination, necessity, obligation, you can say, or compulsion. Okay, I'll say, just remember this. Must is used for compulsion, fixed determination. Necessity, you can use many other words are there, but must is actually used for compulsion and fixed determination. Means when you're determined to do something, or when you want someone else to do with a determination, then must is used. Like, you must work hard to pass the exam. See, I can say two things. You should work hard to pass the exam. You must work hard to pass the exam. Both the sentences are correct. But when to say what, that you need to judge. I will say must when I think I have that, power or command or freedom over that person. Like, suppose if I have a brother who's my own brother, definitely I won't hesitate to say you must work hard to pass the exam, because it's my brother. I really want that with a determination to I really want him to put his all determination to get that thing. But if it is you, suppose you are stranger to me right now, guys, stranger obviously, but I don't consider it that way, but I'm saying in that way it's stranger. So I should always say should. See, it is coming automatically from my mouth. I'm saying should, not other words. Why? Because I can give you advice. If I have to tell you the same thing what I'm telling you to my brother, I'll tell you you should work hard in order to pass the exam. That I'll tell you, because I don't have the power over you. I don't own you or something like that. You are nobody to me in that way that I will show my power. Then you might say suddenly to me that why are you telling me to do that thing? Who are you to tell me to do that thing? I might get felt insulted on that time. That's the reason I will only say must to somebody whom I know that they are my people, like who will never insult me, something like that. So this is, you need to use your common sense where to use what. Are you getting me, guys? This is the thing. So must is used for fixed determination. Even though if you also want to say must is only used when you fixed determine. Like, I must walk 8 hours minimum a day in order to achieve my goal. So I'm saying must. Why? I can say I should work. Should work means I'm not that much determined. I just thought about it to do it to achieve my goal. But when I say must, that means I am completely determined to do that thing, or I think it's compulsory for me to do the thing. Like when you go for exams, and over there you see a question paper, you will find over there they're written something like that: you must attend 5 questions out of 10 questions or out of 7 questions. Why you must? Because if you will not attend those 5, the marks will not be given to you accordingly, whatever they have the distribution of the marks according to questions. So you must attend 5 questions. So must is like that. So it's a compulsion. Hope you have understood, guys. It's very easy. Must is very easy. Now ought to. What is ought to? Ought to is kind of a social bondage. It is used for social bondage. Mark my word. It is used for social bondage, and also it is used for social obligation. What is social obligation like that? Like you have some duty towards your country. You have some duty towards your society. Like what I am doing right now, I think I have some. It's my duty as a human being to help other people. That's why I'm trying to give my skills. I'm trying to give something to you, which I think I have worked hard to achieve that. And I think if I'll give it to you, you will spread this to other people. Obviously, this is how our country will, prosper. This is what I want actually. We have to take the initiative to make our country prosper. Nobody else will take. Why some foreign countries will be on the top of the list of economy or something, or in terms of education? Why not us? We are also talented, we are also wise, we are also intelligent, we are also smart, we also have the capability to do the things what they can do. So the only thing we don't have, guys, we don't have the unity. That's the problem, guys. We need that unity with us. We need the support. We don't support each other. That's the most important problem. That's why I always tell you that please share this video as much as you can. Why I'm telling you this? It's not only for my benefit, guys. Obviously I'll get benefit, but I want other people to get more benefit. If you're getting benefit from this video, why don't you think that other people should also get the benefit? If the day you'll start thinking like this, I'm telling you, our country will start prospering more and more. Obviously it's prospering, but still it will more prosper. Okay, let us come to that point. Otto is used for social bondage. Otto is used for your social bondage. Again, what I said, one more, social duty, kind of. So what is social duty? I can say, suppose we have some duty towards our parents. So I can say we ought to serve our, or we ought to look after our old parents, or we ought to look after our aged parents. We should look after our parents. So instead of should, if you use ought to, that's the appropriate word, because ought to shows a kind of a social bondage. It is used for social bondage. It is used for any social work also. It's like that. We ought to serve our country. We ought to serve our society. We ought to love our country. When we say that, it is a better word to use than should. People generally have heard using should. We should love our country. We must love our country. You can use must also, but we should love our country. No, that's, I don't say it's wrong, but I say it's not appropriate, guys. That word is not appropriate in this sentence, because it is talking about social bondage. You're talking about kind of a social duty, responsibility as a human being, as a citizen of your country. So on that time, ought to is the best word. You can use it. Am I clear to you, guys? So this is all about your modal auxiliaries, main modal auxiliaries. Now 3 more things are left. What is that? Semi-modal auxiliary. Dare, need, and used to. So what is used to, guys? Used to, I'm sure you have heard about it. What is used to? Then have to. What is that? It is a very common word. People use it a lot. Like, I had to work hard, man, in order to pass my exam. I had to go and study, or or else I won't pass in my entrance exam. So I have to, when people use it, have to, just keep it in mind. Have to is actually used when you talk about an obligation. When you feel that there is an obligation, you have to, you must do it. Must and or have to is more or less same. Have to gives you a more good feeling about you're putting more pressure on it. Like when you talk to your staff or your employees or your teacher, when your teacher talk to you, obviously they say you have to study hard if you want to get the good result. Your boss sometimes tells you that you have to work hard, or you must work hard. Must and have to more or less same. Obligations, it gives you obligation, but have to is something people when someone say have to, then have to has a more power than must in terms of command. Means it is a kind of a command. That means you don't have any other option, you have to do it. So they have to is used like that. So when people feel that they have a command over you, they tells you on that time that you have to do this work. You have to pay me interest for the money that I have lent you. That means I believe that I have a command over you. I have a power over you to ask for this. Then only I am telling you, you have to pay me interest along with the principal, my principal amount which I have lent it to you. So I hope you got it. What is have to? So have to is this, guys. Have to is used in this way. Have to. I have to leave my habit of working late at night. Otherwise my health will deteriorate. So why I'm saying have to? Because I have to command over myself that this is not right, this is not good. I am also feeling doctors advising, families advising, friends is advising me not to walk late at night. Generally I do so, guys, because generally what happens, whole throughout the day I stay at office, I do my office work, I'm an entrepreneur, so obviously I focus more on my work first of all in early morning till evening, and then when I come back I have some work to do. What work? Social work. I mean, social in the sense like I talk to my family members, I sit with them, I talk to them. Why? Because this is also my duty, I should do that, being a family member. And after that, late at night I make videos for you guys. I started making videos. Okay, I also play sports, so I walk, I give time for that also. I also give half an hour, 1 hour for my fitness regimen, that also I do. So I don't get time, so obviously if I have to make videos, if I have to do some extra work, I have to do it at late at night. So sometimes my family members, my colleagues, you can say my associates, business associates, or you can say my friends, sometimes they advise me not to work late at night. So when they say you have to listen to us, this is not right, you're not doing it right, you should work hard but not late at night. So when they're saying you have to, that means they feel that they have a command over me, they love me, that's why they feel they have a command over me. So have to is something like that. I'm not saying love to, maybe your boss doesn't like you, doesn't love you, but your boss can tell you this, you have to do this assignment by tomorrow or else I'll fire you. He has that command over you, he has that right over you, so then you can use that. So this have to is used like this. Okay, then used to is a habit, guys. Used to is a past habit. Just remember this word, nothing you have to remember. Used to is a past habit. So when you're talking about a past habit, then used to is used. Like, I'll give you examples. Like, suppose I used to run marathon. A year ago I used to run marathon, but from this year onwards I didn't run because I didn't get time. I traveled a lot in different states for my work, for my sports, so I didn't get time to run marathons this year much. So I can tell you, if you'll ask me what about your marathon, you're not running anymore, I say, then I can say I used to run last year, or I used to run, but nowadays I'm not getting time to run. So when I'm saying I used to run, that means I'm conveying to you my message that there was a time when I used to do that, but now I don't do. When there was a time when it was my habit, but now I don't do. Suppose there is a person who is a smoker, who smoke. So if he give up the smoking habit, and then he can say that I used to smoke once upon a time, but now I don't smoke. So in this way, if you make sentences, then you can understand the use of used to. Used to is a past habit, which you used to do, means there was a time when you used to, regularize that habit, but nowadays you don't have that habit. Then you use used to. I hope I have made it clear to you guys. And the last two, dare or need. It's not, need is obviously that much is in use, but dare is not that much in use, but still you should know little bit about dare. Okay, sorry guys, I thought maybe the video recording was stopped. So dare, we are talking about dare or need, right? So need, what is need? Need is again a very common word we have used a lot of time. I'll still tell you, need is used in two ways. One is as a semi-modal auxiliary verb, one is as a main verb. How main verb? I need money. So here need is used as a regular verb. Not main verb, regular verb. Yes, regular verb. Need is used as a regular verb. I need more time. So here need is used as a regular verb. But auxiliary verb, how it is used as an auxiliary verb? It is used like I need not to go school. That means I don't require to go school. There is no necessity to go to school. Today school is off, or today there is a holiday in the school, holiday declared in the school, or today there is a holiday declared at the school. I need not go to school. I did not go to office because I'm not feeling well. So this I did not is used as a here, need here is used as a auxiliary, semi-modal auxiliary verb. Then I can frame sentences in interrogative sentences also with need. Need I go to school tomorrow? Need I go to office tomorrow? Means I'm asking a question. Need I go to office tomorrow? You can use need in interrogative sentences as well. So this is the use of need. And there, guys, it is just not that much is in use, very less uses. What is the meaning of dare? First, let me tell you, to have courage. So if I say she dares to go into the dark, even if she was not accompanied by anyone. So she dares to go into the dark, even she was not accompanied by someone. So she had the courage to go into the dark. So that she had the courage means what? So it's a kind of a verb. She is doing something. She's showing the courage. So she dares. So dares is used in this way as a modal auxiliary. Sometimes we also use it in a question also. Don't you dare to talk to me like that. I am sure you have heard this sentence a lot of time in movies. Don't you dare to talk to me like that. Means when you are very angry and you think that someone is inferior to you, maybe in terms of knowledge, in terms of worth, in terms of money, in terms of status, anything. Or maybe that person is younger to you and you think he should not talk or she should not talk to you like that way. You are elder to him, she should or he should talk to you in a respectable way. On that time you can say this. Sometimes parents say also, don't you dare talk to me like that. When you are raising your voice on your parents, suppose your parents is saying that don't do this work and you say no, I will do this work. Then your parents is saying don't you dare to talk to me like that. So don't you dare to talk to me like that. Here dare is again used as a semi-modal auxiliaries. It has a very rare use, guys, very limited use, but again it is used. So you should have the knowledge. It means to have courage. Dare to means to have courage. So this is the end of the chapter called verb